This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com, and I am with one of the friendliest ladies in all of professional wrestling, the very beautiful and talented Major League Wrestling announcer slash YouTuber, the queen, the interview queen, Alicia Atout. How are you today?
Hi, what a lovely intro. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad that we get to go another round.
Yeah, I think this is our third round, but it'll be our most detailed round. Since the last round I did with you, you've actually been signed to MLW and working for them. How's that been going?
It's been absolutely incredible. I feel like most people in wrestling, they always want that place to call home. You always see the same faces, your friends on the road. So as soon as they approached me about signing, it was just so exciting for me. I've been watching the brand for so long. I think the talent there is so fierce and they're amazing at not only wrestling, but their promo work is so wicked. So it just felt like a great match. And I couldn't be happier that I chose to, put my name to paper with MLW.
You don't hear too much bad about MLW as far as their booking goes or their talent goes. I guess they just don't have the most funding of all the companies, but I understand they're getting more and more TV deals as time goes on.
Yeah, so right now I know our boss court is working on a ton of stuff. Like we just launched in 3 brand new countries for where we're actually airing our show. So that's super exciting. And if you happen to not get any networks as of right now, we're always on YouTube every Saturday as well for free. So we're super accessible to people. Pretty much you can watch us anywhere globally. So it's really exciting, and we're just all super excited about everything coming up because I've heard, obviously before this whole pandemic came along, we were working on a bunch of brand new cities to debut in, and it was just going to be really cool. So I'm sure that'll come back to fruition once everything settles down and everyone's in good hands and safe. But it's just so cool. Anytime I see them teasing something, I'm like, just tell me what's going on, because I know they're always working to better the product. So yeah, it's a really great team.
Yeah, I think this situation has killed a lot of momentum for a lot of people. What's the worst thing about it so far for you?
For me, it was a real shame just right before Mania week. I mean, we were actually, MLW had a show in Mexico with AAA, and we're literally all in the locker room just staring at our phones. Oh, another booking's canceled, another booking's canceled. And this is before everything shut down and it got super serious. So it was just seeing not only myself, but all of my buddies kind of losing their biggest way of their livelihood and their income. So that was terrifying for a lot of people. It sucks. And the other thing was just I had a huge trip planned to the UK for work, having to do with wrestling. So that was going to be a huge opportunity for me, and of course that was gone. I think I would have been flying home like yesterday. So it's just kind of crazy to be put into perspective. We're here sat at home, but we had schedules lined up until like November. So it's been a hit. We're coping. I'm still hosting my Skype interviews, still doing my campaigns and everything, but you really have had to find new ways to get stuff done.
Yes, for those that don't know, I think it's very safe to say I'm the number one Canadian male interviewer for pro wrestling, but you're definitely by far the number one Canadian female interviewer. How did you get into wrestling? Because you do not look like the typical wrestling fan.
So I get that all the time. It was so funny. When I started interviewing wrestlers, like, do you even know anything about me? Or I'd interview metal bands and they'd be like, do you know anything? And I'm like, just wait, let me ask you 2 questions and you'll realize I know everything about you. So I got into wrestling when I was like 2 or 3 years old because my dad has been a wrestling fan his whole life. He watched wrestling with his dad. So it just kind of was passed on generation. And so I've been watching it since I was a kid. I've obviously gone through spells where I've faded in and out like most wrestling fans have, but it's been there my whole life. So once my site got fairly big from doing music interviews, my dad actually mentioned, why don't you interview wrestlers? You love wrestling. And then the light bulb went off, and then it just took over completely.
What made you start your site in the first place? Just your love for music, or was it something else?
I would get so bored in school and I'd have so much extra time after finishing stuff. So I would just post song reviews online just as a creative outlet for myself. And then I was at a concert with my family, and my dad actually, we had this like really crappy, dinky little camera. He's like, why don't you ask the band 2 questions? Like they're just hanging out right there. And they're one of my favorite bands. And I almost like shat myself thinking like, no, I can't do it. I was 16. And I went up, I asked them 2 ridiculously dumb questions. And that was the beginning of the Interview Queen's career. It just kind of picked up. People, for whatever reason, liked the interviews. And then I actually started developing my skill set and working on more content and creating a brand. So it all just started as like a hobby, just so I could meet bands I loved, but it, turned into what it is now.
Now, I am a subscriber to your channel. You still do music interviews. It's Ambi, right? If anyone
Yes.
wants to look it up. Now, what are some of your favorite bands and musicians?
Oh, of all time, I have so many. I love anything from classic rock to 80s music to like Philly soul. I have Kiss on my wall right there. I'm a huge Kiss fan. There's Adam Lazzara from Taking Back Sunday. So like I went through a huge alternative emo phase, like Dashboard Confessional, The Used, Taking Back Sunday, brand new. I had the haircut and everything. I was all in. So it's all over the place. But favorite bands, I'd have to probably say like Dashboard Confessional, Mystery Jets, Kiss, The Used, The Beatles. I'm all over the place. Some days I'll just listen to Duran Duran all day. Like it's really
Oh,
just a
they're
mess.
awesome.
So
I
good.
saw Duran Duran. I did security at a concert 3 years ago for them, and they like tore the house down.
That's awesome. I'd still like to see them for sure. And they're on my interview list one day. I got to see Kiss. That's me with Kiss. You can't really see it, but I got to meet
Oh,
them and
yeah,
see
you're in a
them.
headlock.
Yeah. Paul's like this on me. So, oh, that was like one of the best concerts I've ever seen. I was in Finland for it, and it was just like mind blowing. Yeah.
Wow. What's your favorite Kiss song?
Okay, so it's really hard for me to narrow it down, but I love Sure Know Something, Shandy. I Was Made for Loving You is definitely a more popular one, but it's just so badass. Anytime that bass starts, I'm just like, it's gonna be a tasty jam. So those are a few of my favorites. Oh, what else? And I'm a sucker for Beth. I know like it's a really chill song, but I just love the emotion in that one. I'm trying to Hard Luck Woman, great tune. So those are like a couple of my favorites.
Why Finland of all places? Were you just on vacation there? Or?
This company have a huge music festival called Rockfest over there, and they actually hired me to come over for a week to do social media. So I literally just got to see concerts for 4 days straight. Everyone from Slipknot to Kiss to Def Leppard, it was Dream Theater. It was just incredible, and I just got to post pictures and videos on my phone for 4 days in the sunshine, watching bands I loved. So yeah, it was a super crazy opportunity that came my way, and I was there for a week. It was amazing. I want to go back so badly.
Now, I don't even know if they have like video stations anymore, like Much Music that actually have the VJs like they used to have when I was
Right.
younger. Is that something that you would have wanted to do? Because it seems like you would have been perfect for that.
I could definitely see myself doing something like that, especially on the music side of things. I grew up listening to so many different bands and genres and decades, and I'm not trying to like put myself over, but like I definitely have that mind for music and like that knowledge about it. So I think it'd be so cool to be a VJ and like, spin stuff or when bands come in, interview them on air. It's not much different from what I'm doing now, honestly. So yeah, that's definitely something I think I could have done. Would have been a lot of fun.
How do you find interviewing musicians overall to wrestlers? I know it's probably easier for wrestlers for you because you're a female, an attractive female, but I find sometimes wrestlers are a little on the grumpy side.
It's interesting. I find a lot of the time they can be a little apprehensive. Like I mentioned before, like they'll see me come into a room and some days I look like a hippie, some days I look like I'm like the singer of a rock band, and they judge you and they're like, there's no way she knows anything about me. And then once I start interviewing them and share my knowledge, it switches from like being a little grumpy and apprehensive to like, oh, this is a great conversation. Let's rock and roll. So I've definitely had that happen before, but I've been really lucky. I think because by the time I was in wrestling, I already had a decent following from music. So people right away would look at my following if I was requesting something directly and they'd be like, okay, she has like a built-in crowd. Why not? So I kind of had that respect. It was interesting going from industry to industry, but I've been really lucky. I haven't had any nightmare stories when it comes to interviewing wrestlers or anything. Like you, of course, run into a lot of sleazy people, but they never show that side of themselves really on camera. So luckily, at least for my fans, they don't have to deal with that. And when that kind of stuff does happen, you just shoo people away and, stay professional because people can really suck when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Who was your favorite, both male and female wrestler growing up?
Oh gosh. So growing up, Beth Phoenix, I absolutely loved. I just thought she was such a powerhouse and she was so different from the other females in the ring, especially back then when it really was a lot of bikini matches and, not people really showing off a ton of their wrestling skill. It was more about beauty. And she came in both beautiful and talented. I was like, oh my gosh, she's the best. So I loved her. And I loved when she had everything going on with Santino too. That was great. And then as far as males go, I've always been a Chris Jericho fan, always been a fan of John Cena, The Rock. Grew up heavily, like I'm a 90s baby. So, I just right away loved that stuff. And then Edge. I just thought he was such a talented wrestler. And when him and Christian would do all of their like really dumb fun stuff in the ring as a kid, I was like, this is the best. And they had me laughing all the time. So I know that's not one and one, but yeah.
And of course, you're from the same city as Edge, right? Are you from right in Toronto or one of the surrounding cities?
I'm on the outskirts. I'm about a 15-minute drive, 20 minutes from downtown Toronto, but very, very close. I think anytime you're like from Ontario or even Canadian, we all just rally together and we're like, Canada. So it doesn't matter if you're like 20 minutes away, if
Yeah.
we're like 20 minutes away or like 4 hours. If you're Canadian, we're a pact.
And I notice a lot of Americans don't realize how actually big Canada is. They seem to act like it's a lot smaller, so they'll
Yeah.
group like the Toronto people in with the Calgary people and so forth. I'm sure
Yeah,
you get that. Why don't you just interview Bret Hart all the time as if
all
he's
the
your
time.
neighbor?
Or there'll be a show going on in Vancouver and they're like, oh, it must be easy for you to get there. Like, why don't you just come on down for a meet and greet or something? It must be easy to set up. I'm like, I'm here. Vancouver's like, whoop, the other side of the map, bro. Like, I'm like, that's provinces over. But yeah, it's funny. And then they think too, it's fun too, because whenever I'm in the States, like we'll drive from state to state sometimes. And it's so cool, all the little pit stops in between, and the scenery is so different. And in Canada, it's just like rural area for miles and hours. So they don't realize too, like it's a lot of land. It's a really big country with a lot of stuff in between.
That's for sure. Have you done much touring? Like, have you ever done like a multi-day wrestling tour?
I have. I've done a couple. There's this guy named Richie who runs RDP Promotions, and I've done 2 tours with him, and they were so fun. We did like 4 shows in 48 hours, and I vlogged about it because I was with so many cool people, from Road Dogg to Brooke Adams to Melina, and we just drove around for 2 days back to back, just going to different shows, signing, meeting fans. It was just one of those moments in wrestling where like you grow a camaraderie with people and you really get those road stories you always kind of hear about people talking, so or people talking about. So yeah, I've done them a couple times and they're so much fun.
I know you've probably had a lot of great experiences meeting fans, but there was a fan that wanted me to ask you your best and worst fan experience because I'm sure you have some crazy fans as well.
Yeah, so as far as best go, I just think it's lovely anytime. I mean, I'm grateful for anyone who comes up or even like cares or knows who I am, because it still kind of blows my mind that people care. But I love anytime they come up and like it's so cute when they bring me Swedish fish or something that I like. And it's not just because it's a gift, like I'll take them. No one's gonna deny gifts, but it's just like the thought that goes into it is so kind. Or anytime someone brings me artwork, I'm like, wow, you actually put so much effort into this. So I keep all of that kind of stuff. So those fan experiences are always lovely. And as far as worst fan experiences go, I've had people walk up to my table and just say like the creepiest of things, like not even realizing like, yo, I'm a human here, like I can talk back to you, bro. And then I was at Starcast for like the fourth time, and this guy came up to my table and just went like this, and he just stared at me for like 30 seconds. It felt like an eternity, and I almost was just like looking, because usually you're like, hey man, how can I help you, or oh, would you like something, do you have any questions? He didn't reply to anything. He just stared, and it was just so weird. So that's probably like the creepiest thing, because people can say stuff or whatever, but when you don't even know what they're thinking or like what's running, you can be like, okay, that guy's like a douche, that guy's a weirdo, that guy's a sweetheart. I didn't know what this guy was gonna do, so that was a bit of a worrisome moment.
Were you at the Starcast where Buff Bagwell had his little scene? He was telling us about it a couple
I'm
days
not
ago.
I'm not sure. Maybe something happened, and was that Baltimore?
I think it was the second one.
Okay, I haven't even heard of this.
Okay. He just brought it up to us the other day, and he made it seem like it was a big scene, so that's why
Oh,
I was curious. But you may have been in a different area than him or something.
yeah, no, I haven't heard anything about that.
I see. So the first time I guess I discovered you was when Impact was doing some tapings in Ottawa, and I guess you had some type of pass to go around interviewing the Impact wrestlers. Is that how you kind of opened the door to start working for Impact Wrestling?
Yeah, so originally I just came in backstage to do interviews for my channel. I already knew a bunch of the roster from interviewing them previously before they were with Impact on the Indies. So it was just they were like, "Yeah, come by, interview our talent. We know they like you. You know, you're professional. Do your thing." And then I think that's when things kind of started buzzing a little bit, and they were like, "Oh yeah, they really like her. You should maybe check this out." La la la. And then I actually started doing backstage promos for BCW, which is co-owned by Scott D'Amore. So it just made sense. They started running co-pros with Impact, and I was already there. So they're like, let's just use her. Like, she's good with the VCW talent. There's a crossover. Let's just take it over to Impact. So it was kind of a flawless transition, right place, right time.
And are you still with an Impact wrestler? At one point, I guess you were dating an Impact wrestler.
Yes, I still am. Yeah.
Which one is it? Do you mind telling us, or is it kayfabe?
I mean, we're kind of keeping things on the lowdown right now, but if you knew who I was with before, you'll know who I'm with now. He's absolutely wonderful. So yeah, it's just fans are absolutely crazy sometimes. So for now, we're just kind of playing it down.
Are you guys able to see each other with this lockdown happening?
With the pandemic, currently, no. It's been really, I mean, there's bigger problems obviously going on right now, clearly. But for us, it's sucked because being away from your loved one, it's awful. But we're just keeping our fingers crossed, and hopefully sooner than later we'll be able to spend all the time in the world together. So
So you eventually left Impact. Any particular reason for that, or was it just time to move on?
honestly, it just got to the point where a couple other opportunities were coming my way, and they were also looking at other things, and just being really blunt, like a couple things just fizzled. And next thing you knew, I was doing stuff for Cody Rhodes and like AEW, and it just felt like one of those other seamless transitions where you just leave from one thing to the other. There's no bad blood at all. It's just it was one of those career moves that just made sense for me at the time. And I feel like if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be in the place where I'm at now. So, it's definitely one of those things you look back on and have no regrets.
How did you get hooked up with AEW?
Yeah, so I first did All In for them, and that pretty much came about because I had already interviewed Cody, the Bucks, and Omega when I was for my channel. I was just at a ROH show, and I interviewed them. And then I heard these rumors about All In, so I texted Cody and was like, "Hey, if you need somebody," and they said, "Yeah, let's do it." So that worked out really easily. And then once I heard the rumors about Double or Nothing, it was the same thing, really. I shot them a message. I said, "Hey, if you need anybody, I would absolutely love to work with you guys again." And once again, it all just kind of worked out and fell into place. So
Obviously, AEW owned by a multi-billionaire. What's the backstage and production environment difference between an AEW and an Impact Wrestling?
honestly, I feel like just because the shows at AEW were on a bigger scale, like that was the main difference I noticed. Um, and then production, it's like I it was weird because I didn't really see, I guess, much of a difference. Even when I think of it compared to MLW, it's like, yeah, their monitors sometimes are bigger, pending the venues they're at, 'cause they're bigger venues and stuff like that. But as far as quality goes, I can't really like speak on that or compare. And it's not like politicking. I just made up a word, I think. But it's nothing to do with politics or anything like that. It's just I think that they were really smooth, I can say. I've been with certain promotions and like there have been hiccups and you can tell like they're not really putting their best foot forward, but when it came to them, like they were like a well-run oiled machine. It was really cool to see. So I'd have to say that's probably the biggest difference. But otherwise it was just like they got their cameramen, producers, we're gonna knock this out, let's go go go.
Did you have much interaction with Tessa Blanchard in Impact?
Yeah, I interviewed her twice there, and then I interviewed her for my show prior to that. So it was like we shared the same locker room when I was there, just like with any of the other girls. So
Do you see it all where some of those girls are coming from with the accusations that came out, or did you have is that kind of a thing with the wrestlers and she was always nice to you?
um honestly, that's something I'd rather just not speak to, just because I've seen, I mean, if people want to speak out, good for them about their experiences. I just publicly, whether it's like complimenting or bashing somebody, I just rather like stay away from it, to be frank. But
Now, MJF is a guy that you've interviewed a few times. Some fans wanted me to ask you, what's he like to interview, and how did you get along with him?
yeah, I mean, it's what you guys see is pretty much exactly how he is. He's very full of himself. He's um, thinks that he's the best in the world, better than everybody, and that's just the way he is. So when you go into an interview with him, you know you're going to have to really fight to get a word in. You know there's going to be some tension. You know he's going to call you a bunch of really just wrong things, and you have to bite the bullet or just say something back or slap him. I've done it all. So
Any thoughts on Selena De La Renta, who we recently interviewed on this channel?
I love working with her. I feel like it's almost the same when it comes to MJF or like any other heel that I get to work with. Anytime someone's good at their job and is great at getting heat, and I'm kind of coming in at that like angel baby face, it's so fun to see the dynamic. So it's always great having that banter and back and forth with her.
And I believe Davey Boy Smith Jr. might be the only other Canadian in MLW right now. Any thoughts on him?
Actually, I think he might be now that, yeah, I think he is. I love working with him. It's so fun when I get to promo with Davey, because most of the time when I interview wrestlers, they make me like do like a split because they want to make everyone look taller, right? And they've done that with every promotion I've worked for. So with Davey, you'd think, because he's ridiculously tall, you'd think they'd just like, I just walk in, but I still do the splits with him, and he's like 3 feet taller than me. So I always get such a laugh anytime I work with him. He is just so good in the ring when it comes to being like a technical wrestler. I love watching his matches. So yeah, I have like nothing bad to say about Davey. Plus, he's just so funny in the locker room. So yeah, he's a good guy.
Have you heard any of his impressions? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, when we were in Mexico, he talked for like half an hour as Teddy.
Oh
we were
boy.
we were all in the locker room just like getting ready before promos, and he's just back there talking like just to all of us, but he wouldn't drop the Teddy voice. It was so funny.
Now, I know you're not going to comment on this, but what do you think of all this stuff that's been going on with Ted lately? Just unfortunate, or
With what, sorry?
like all this stuff that's been going on with Ted lately and his
Oh,
unfortunate issues?
I mean, it sucks seeing anybody going through stuff like that. So all I can say is like I wish him the best with whatever happens next, or whatever kind of like choices he has to make next. I like never want to see someone in the wrestling industry have anything negative happen to them. So I think we're all just hoping like things turn around.
What are your thoughts on everyone getting released yesterday? I think it was 20, over 20 wrestlers and 9 producers.
It sucks. Anytime someone loses a job, it's awful, and I think especially under these circumstances, it's really sad. Um, Seeing some of the videos and posts that were shared yesterday kind of like broke my heart, because you're seeing peers, some friends, some people you've like watched for a while since I was younger, being with a company they've been with for over a decade, and now they just have to either start from scratch, or you're almost put into a position where you can't scramble to get a job because nothing's available right now. So it's heartbreaking, and it's just like a super sad thing to have happened. I don't really know what else to say. Like it sucks.
It might work out well for MLW once they get back going to maybe pick up a few of those better talent that were released, hopefully.
Yeah, that's definitely one way to look at it for people. I mean, one door closes, another one opens, and I think I've learned that more times than a lot of people, and it's always been very positive for me. So hopefully yeah, it'd be great to work with a lot of these people at MLW, or see where they end up, or once everything starts running again, what indie promotions they end up working with. It's definitely a big opportunity for some people too, because I know there were some people that wanted out of those contracts. So we'll see where they end up as well.
Now, I understand you were part of Mick Foley's 20 Years of Hell tour. How did that
Yeah.
all come about?
So I've interviewed Mick for my show a few times, and then he actually hit me up saying, "Hey, I have this tour coming up. Have you ever hosted shows before?" And I told him, I mean, for wrestlers, not really. I've hosted wrestling shows, but not like a tour like this. I was like, but I know I can do it, no problem. And so he brought me out for 2 or 3 shows on that tour, and I got to go out, introduce him. I wrote like a whole little speech about him because I love Mick Foley. I have for so long, and it just was one of those moments in my career where you think back, like I got to like open and introduce Foley. It was amazing, and like it was so cool too because there's this one time he was talking and he was telling a story, and he literally just stopped his story and was like, "Isn't that right, Alicia?" He did it like 4 times throughout his set. And I was just like, "Oh my God, Mick Foley." Ah. Like, sometimes you're doing your job and you obviously are just thinking about the job and enjoying your day and like making sure you knock it out of the park. And then there are those moments where you just realize like, this is happening. This is crazy. So yeah, it was really amazing.
Now, a fan wanted me to ask you this question. I don't even think Playboy has a magazine anymore, to be honest, but they wanted me to ask you, would you ever do a Playboy shoot?
No, you can probably see from the stuff I post on social media, I keep it fairly like chill. Like I think the next photo I'm gonna post is me literally in like a t-shirt and jeans playing video games. So, I highly doubt that.
I think I have seen a few bikini pictures of you, though. Haven't you posted a few bikini over the years?
Yeah, one was a campaign one because I work with a company called Shein where they send me clothes and like it's the best partnership ever. So I posted some for that, and then just vacation. Last year I went to Mexico and the Dominican, so I just posted a couple, but there's maybe like 8 on my page out of like 2,000 posts. So yeah, they're
Yeah.
they're very rare.
And one of the posts I noticed from you, I think it was from last week, that made me want to reach out to you for an interview, was of you singing on your couch. And I noticed it had like 3,000 hits or something of you just like randomly singing. You're a pretty good singer. Did you ever think of getting into the actual music side of the business, not just interviews?
Yeah, so I really wanted to be a singer growing up, but it was never something I ever pursued at all. I would just like sing in talent shows in the car, like 24/7 pretty much. So I just never pursued it, but it's still in the back of my mind. And it's one of those things too now where with my platform, like if I didn't start posting pictures and like cool outfits and stuff, I probably wouldn't be working with a lot of clothing brands I work with. And then I realized like maybe if you just post a video of you singing, you never know who's gonna like it. So it's like I don't know. It's great too because it's obviously my channel, so I can post whatever I want. So I was almost thinking like with the quarantine, maybe I could like post something on my YouTube, which I've never done before. But yeah, I don't know. It's always up in the air with me. You never know until like it's live. So
I think it was just like a very random song you were singing, but would there be any genre of music in specific that you think you would be best at?
I always find myself going back to like a lot of 70s stuff, like whether it's Fleetwood Mac or even 60s. Like there was I was singing like Mamas and the Papas a ton the other
Oh, they're
day.
great. I'm a
I
huge fan of
love
them.
them. And then like I was singing Mama and Mama Cass, Dream a Little Dream of Me. Like I don't know. I'm really an old soul when it comes to that stuff. So it'd probably be something from the 70s, but who knows? I think the song you maybe saw with like Dashboard Confessional, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Now, where can fans follow you if they want to look you up on social media? Speaking of your social media.
Yeah, so if you guys just type up Alicia Atout, there you will find my website, which has my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and my YouTube's on there, along with my merch store. So I made it pretty simple. All you have to do is Google my name, and everything pops up. No crazy handles or anything. So yeah, just search me up. I love interacting with people. I really miss doing it in person. So now when it comes to online, like I'm just hitting that retweet button like a madwoman. So feel free to come on over, reach out, follow, and just say hey.
And I had another fan question that wanted me to ask you what your favorite food to eat is and also what your best dishes that you cook yourself.
Oh gosh. So I don't really cook. I can follow a recipe, no problem, but I don't cook super often. But I posted a picture of it actually today. I made like a homemade poutine, which is super Canadian, and it was so good. So that was like top notch. As far as favorite foods go, I really love pad thai, sushi, tacos, pizza. I just love food. I could talk about steak and potatoes. I could talk about food for forever. So yeah.
I guess you just have a fast metabolism, or do you work out like crazy to burn it all off?
Definitely it's been a fast metabolism, but I actually started working out for the first time since like high school about 3 weeks ago. So I actually feel like better already and I'm already seeing results and stuff. So I want like this pandemic to be over, to come back to TV and just be like bam.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Are you doing home workouts now then, I guess, with your extra time?
Yeah, I was lucky because being at home with my family, my parents actually have like it's nothing fancy, but like they have a bunch of home gym equipment in the basement from like we have like a leg extension machine, we have everything where you can do cable workouts to dumbbells and stuff. So my dad has been getting back into it and then it just kind of started where we all just started working out like together. So yeah, just been getting to it. I have all this downtime now when I'm not traveling, so I've been using that travel time to now try to just get in better shape. So
And obviously, you have a great look. For any females that might be watching this, any beauty tips?
um, honestly, I hate wearing makeup, so I always like saying like the less the better, quite frankly. And then as far as like an actual tip goes, I like braiding my hair before bed because then I don't really have to do anything in the morning. And Moroccan oil for my hair. It makes it really nice and shiny. So those are
Yeah,
some
your
of
hair looks great today. You also style it differently all the time. I guess you do that yourself, or are you visiting the salon a lot?
Yeah, so funny thing, I haven't got a haircut in like 2 years. My sister actually cuts it, and it's now getting to the point where it's like stupidly long. So I'm definitely gonna have to cut a little bit of it off. But she's just gonna do it for me because I'm really cheap and I don't like spending money. So anytime you see my makeup, my hair, my clothes, I've done like all of it.
What about your nails? They're blue today. Did you do
Yep,
your nails too? Yeah.
I did them too. I do like all of my gel manicures and stuff by myself, all the nail art I do. Um, Again, I found like I bought this kit where you can actually like cure your nails for $50. So I can do it for a lifetime with this kit, and getting it done once is like $50 at a salon. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna save some money.
Have you ever had any experiences? I'm sure you have with like haters online, and how do
Yeah,
you deal with that? Because I know every morning I wake up and I read like 10 personal insulting comments. Do you have any tips for fellow YouTubers on dealing with the continuous insults that we get? Of course, the majority is positive, but obviously you got the haters.
yeah, so most of the time I just let them be, honestly. But once in a while I'll be feeling like a little angsty or just annoyed about something else, so I'll just write something back to them, or quote retweet it, and then my fans will jump on it and like attack the person, which always feels so awesome. So yeah, most of the time I just let it go because I've come to realize like any of the crap they have to say is normally just not the truth, like 99% of the time. Like, sure, one day my hair can look like a little crazy or whatever. Like, I don't really care if you say that. But if you come to insult like my interviewing skills or say that the interview is boring when like literally every other comment's like, this is the best, you can go screw yourself. So, I'm just over it at this point.
And the big news of the day today, unfortunately, of course, Howard Finkel passed away at 69. Have you ever met him or had any interactions with him? He's a little bit past your generation.
Yeah, I hadn't, but to me, like when I think of OGs, it was like him and Minjin. So it's really sad now that both of them have passed and like they were both just so excellent at their craft. So I saw that news come up and I was like, oh, that's like a real shame. Anytime someone passes away, like in the industry or not, it sucks. But like when you have watched a lot of their stuff and like you kind of felt like, I don't want to say like a connection, but just like they made you feel like the product was better and they had you like lured in. It always is such a bummer. So yeah, that was a really sad one to see.
Well, on a good note, I don't seem to think that we've had as many deaths so far in 2020 of wrestlers that we have in past years. And I think there still hasn't been any wrestlers test positive for the coronavirus either. So I guess we're blessed in that way. Just an announcer, supposedly, from WWE, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because you'd think since everyone was traveling so close together, there'd be a lot more breakouts or cases among wrestlers. But hey, I'm grateful that there wasn't because even when we came back from our last tapings, we were like, it was in the thick of it. And it was weird too because Mexico closed the border 2 days after I got home. So it was just like cutting it close, really freaky. And that's why I'm really thankful now to Court and MLW that like they've put our tapings on hold for the safety of the wrestlers. We're not put in that position where it's like, oh, if we don't come to tapings, are we going to be penalized? Are we going to be treated differently? They've just put stuff on hold. We're still working on projects. I have something really cool in the works with them coming out. I actually have a call with them in like an hour to finalize details. So
Oh,
I'm
cool.
really, yeah, I'm really thankful that they're not like jeopardizing our health because it's not just us. We're going home to families and loved ones that we don't want getting sick. So I'm really happy that they're not putting that pressure on us. So yeah, it's been a
And
lot though.
also, you're not missing it because you'd be stuck on the other side of the border anyways.
Yeah, that's very true. It was crazy. Like once I found out they were closing the border from Canada to America, I was like, well, even if they were to do our tapings, I was like, I can't leave to do them. So, yeah, it's we still have a couple more weeks of TV in the can, and then afterwards we're working on some cool stuff to share with fans. So, all I can say about that is like stay tuned because I'm excited.
I heard there was nearly 5,000 of that taping in Tijuana that you did.
Yeah, it was incredible. Like I walked out into the crowd just to watch a couple matches when I wasn't doing pre-tapes and it just was so loud. I've never seen a show in Mexico before. So this is my first show not only working it but like watching as a fan and part of the company and it just blew my mind like hearing they have those they're not like whistles but the like what are they called? Air horns. Oh
Oh.
my gosh. It almost like blew my ear out the whole night. They loved those things. It was electric. It was amazing.
Now, I guess you were probably pretty well taken care of there, but I've always heard Mexico can be a really dangerous place and there's a lot of crime there. Did you feel safe when you were
Yeah,
walking around the streets?
we pretty much were picked up at the border. We went like after going through customs, we went straight to the venue. We were inside the venue all day. It was awesome. They had like water bottles for us the entire time. They had like super authentic tacos up top, which were so. I ate like 6 tacos that day. It was so bad, but they were like the most incredible tacos. So we were really well kept, and it's also great too because anytime I have traveled with MLW since signing in December, whether I want to go around the corner to Dunkin' Donuts or I need to like someone's hungry, we always travel in groups. And especially like being a female, it's just a fact. Like it's dangerous for anyone, but for me, I always am like a head on a swivel. So anytime I need like to get something, any of the guys are like, yeah, I'll come with you, or just give me 2 minutes until I'm done and I'll come. So they're always like my big brothers just watching over, which has been really, really nice to feel.
So, for your future goals, do you plan on growing with MLW and also doing your own stuff on the side, continue growing that through your own channel, or what else are you planning on doing in the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, so as of right now, like I've signed a multi-year contract with MLW and I'm so happy with not only just being like blunt, like the terms that we came to for the deal, but just how I've been treated there so far. It's weird because it sounds like super phony, but I wouldn't say it if that was the case. I've not had one problem with them since signing. Like it has been so incredibly smooth sailing. So my goal would be just to keep growing with them because they are going to grow with the plans that they have and keep doing my YouTube stuff because they don't limit me. I can interview AEW, Impact, WWE, Indies, whoever I want. I'm not blocked from having on my show. So it doesn't hinder me at all. It's open doors for other conventions and traveling around. So I'm really happy there. So if I could just continue to grow with them, that would be sweet.
Has WWE ever refused to let you interview any of their talent? I know your interviews are very on the light side of things and very friendly, so they're not really on the controversial side. But I know for me, I've been told no on a few people.
Yeah, so about 2 years ago, because I've been doing wrestling interviews for 3.5 years now. So about 2 years ago, WWE were coming through Toronto, and I reached out to ask to do interviews, and they were like, "Oh, we don't have a contact on site, so like we're not doing press." So I was like, "Okay, whatever." So what I've done since then is just reach out to friends I know in the company, or if they're doing like book tours or they're here for something else, I've been able to get them that way. So I've lucked out. Like I had Nikki Cross on recently. I just had Renee Young back on. I've been talking with Dolph Ziggler. I just had Chelsea Green, and Deanna, of course, was released yesterday, but I had her on. So I've lucked out. I've been able to get a lot of cool talent without having to like get a lot of no's. So it's one of those things too. I'm sure you know. It's like you almost don't even ask for it half the time because you just know like you're gonna get the no. It's
Oh
just the
yeah.
way it is. So unless you're like a really big TV company or it's almost one of those companies where from the get-go like you might or will most likely get no's. So I've just realized, you know what, in order to get like some really cool names from them, just reach out to buddies who happen to be there. So
Well, I really appreciate the time that you took to talk with us today. Is there anything that you want to let the fans know before we close off? I highly suggest everyone check out your YouTube channel. It's a great channel, but any final plugs or comments for the fans?
well, thank you. Mainly, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has supported me throughout everything, whether it was back when I only did music or now when I'm doing music and wrestling. Just thank you so much for the support and the fact that I'm still getting merch orders coming through and people still watching everything with all this craziness going on. It means a lot because I'm completely DIY. Like, there's no funding behind this aside from me. So the fact that people care enough, it's amazing. So just thank you for that. And otherwise, I hope everyone's just staying safe, keeping sane, following the rules, whatever government you have. Please follow what they're telling you because that's the way to beat this. And, fingers crossed, I'll be seeing everybody soon in person.
Good. I'll close it at that.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month to watch our full shoot interviews ad-free and help our channel grow. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant updates.